If you're interested in entrepreneurship, but the only thing holding you back is truly understanding how business works, and you've been looking all over the place and been receiving generic, regurgitated answers from so called gurus, and you're frustrated, you have found the right video. Look no further. In this video, I'm going to share 3 simple tips on how you can get your business off the ground and working realistically. Let's get into it. Now, you may have been a full-time employee or a college graduate, and you're interested in starting your own business because your field of study has made you confident in the fact that you have ideas that could potentially serve a large number of people. But you're not sure at how you should go about it because business can seem confusing or overwhelming, and you're simply finding yourself not necessarily procrastinating, but you're having a hard time on figuring out how to go about things. Okay, I'm going to give you 3 mistakes first before I give you the 3 tips for success. The 3 biggest mistakes that an entrepreneur can make that probably will allow their business to not work is something that you need to really consider and think through wisely before you find yourself in a rut. Let's get to mistake number 1. Mistake number 1 is not knowing who you can serve. You have to figure out the who, right? There's a book by Dr. Benjamin Hardy called Who Not How. Now, this book will absolutely transform your thinking when it comes to how you should approach business, because even when you find the right who to serve, you may feel that you're underqualified even though you have great ideas. But what the book also talks about is how you can partner with those that are actually talented in areas that you are not, and they can actually help you bring your great idea to fruition so that you can serve the right who, right? So in this case, you would partner or hire the right who to actually help you bring your ideas to fruition so you can actually better serve the right who, right? So who is very pivotal in business. If you're not knowing who you serve or who your product is for, you will not find success, because you'll find something that seems like a good idea, but it's too general to actually target someone of significance or a large group of significance. Which leads us into mistake number 2. If you find an idea that you yourself believe is a good idea because maybe you personally are interested in it, or you've actually heard something and it may sound a little trendy, but is not it doesn't solve a big enough problem for a large enough group of people, you can find yourself in a situation where you're not able to generate enough resources to actually create a sustainable business at scale. You must find a large enough group of people to serve who have a big enough problem where they'll be willing to actually pay you for the solution that you have, right? So you must have a large group of people to serve first, right? And the third mistake businesses make is you start from the standpoint of what you would want to sell, right? Maybe it's a book that you've been wanting to write for a long period of time. You really want to get your story out there. Or maybe it was some cool invention that you came up with that you thought people would catch on to or think is interesting. That's the wrong way to approach it. You want to start from the market. You want to do market research and find out what people actually want to buy, what is already selling and doing really well in the marketplace, right? And make sure, as I said before, it's a large enough number of people. When you do that, you will actually get better results that way. So you don't want to make the mistake of selling something that you're interested in buying. I mean, buying or selling. You want to start with a product that a large enough number of people actually want to buy already. And then you want to actually add some unique elements to it that you don't currently find in the marketplace, right? So the market research is going to be really helpful for you to do that. Now, you don't want to have something that's a commodity. You don't want to sell something that looks like what everyone else is selling just because it's popular. You can figure out in the marketplace and in forums, and you can literally go to a place like websites like Answer the Public and find out what people are asking about, what they're inquiring, and you also can go to popular brand sites and check out the reviews, on particular products that are popular and see the complaints, right? What are the bad reviews saying? What are people longing for? What solutions they feel that these popular products aren't solving, right? And then you could go to the task of solving them, right? And that will actually position you in a unique way. So those are the three mistakes. Now let's get to the 3 steps that can actually help you stand out. The first step is starting off from a place of wanting to absolutely help others get what they want. If you start off from a place of helping others get what they want, you cannot lose, right? Because when you find the right who and you find a large enough number of them and you actually want to truly get them to the place where they are experiencing a transformation and receiving the outcome that they desire, you will ultimately get what you want. So always put the people in the marketplace first, and then you will absolutely come out on top that way. You gotta actually be empathetic. You have to have the emotional intelligence to understand that people are thinking about themselves, right? So it's simply not about you. If you move in business from the standpoint that it's all about the customer first, the client first, your student first, you will absolutely come out on top. So you want to start there. What do they value? What are their needs? Because if you're coming from a place where you're focused on how they can help you financially or solve your financial problems, right? You're getting off to the wrong start. Because what you need in business is to understand what we call an avatar, right? Who your target audience is, right? Who your ideal customer is, right? That's when we get back to the who part, right? So that's number one, tip number one. You want to start from the marketplace, right? You want to start off from the perspective of adding the most value that you possibly can. And with that, you'll actually receive benefits as a result of doing that naturally. All right. The second tip I'm going to give you is you must be resilient. And the reason why I say this is because when you're starting a business, there are going to be a lot of problems that are going to arise out of nowhere. And this is where a lot of new entrepreneurs get this wrong, and they wind up quitting too soon before they actually build a business that can sustain them and that they can scale. Because what is the point of figuring out who the right people are, finding out what their problem is, doing all the research to find a product that they value, and then putting all of the work in to solve the problem that they're looking to solve in your unique way, right? What we call a unique selling proposition. And then as soon as the first sign of trouble shows up, you give up, right? You allow it to discourage you. Things are going to go wrong. Things are going to happen. You must be resilient. You must understand that iteration is a natural part of the process. And what this means is you're going to have to redo things. You're going to have to pivot. You're going to have to take different angles, right? But here's the good news. There's probably a lot of people who will share their stories that are successful in the same arena that you're looking to serve others in, that you can glean knowledge from, right? You can figure out what their mistakes are so that you can avoid them, right? Like this video, I'm not just giving you tips because I want to be helpful. These are things that I've actually used for myself that has helped me become very successful in my business, right? I've been a professional tattoo artist who's been in that business for 20 years, experienced many ups and downs, worked in 8 shops, ultimately became a licensed artist, and found myself in a position where I had to truly learn how to sell because I wasn't making enough money at certain points when it was very vital that I did. And even though that took a long time for me, I finally figured out what actually would help me to be more successful, and that is what I'm sharing with you here. So you definitely want to understand that resilience is a natural characteristic that you have to develop as an entrepreneur, right? Even if you weren't always a resilient person, you can learn to become more resilient, right? So don't give up when problems show up. Now, the next tip I'm going to give you is one of the most important tips. And I always say this: if you don't follow the last tip, it could actually blow everything else up, right? And everything will be in vain. The next tip is always do your best to serve people at high levels. You want to make sure that you're actually putting in the best quality of service, of product creation that you possibly can muster. You don't want to do anything haphazardly. You want to put your all into it because think about it. You went through all of the work to figure out who to serve. You went through all of the work to do the market research to figure out the problem that you could solve. You went through all of the time to come up with a unique and creative way to solve that problem. But then you're so spent on energy because all of the problems showed up, right? And then you did your best to muster up the resilience only to not do your very best at absolutely delivering on that product or service. You don't want to lose the energy where it matters most. Think about the outcome. Think about what are they going to be saying about it. Think about the reviews that you're going to get. And most of all, think about that feedback in general because the feedback is the breakfast of champions. So when you're going through this process and you lasted through the learning curve and you made it through the first level of challenges in the business and everything seems to be going good, but then you run into some hiccups. Don't let that discourage you. As I said, what you want to do is iterate so you can improve the experience, improve on the outcome. When you do that, it will absolutely change the game because people will see that you've taken the time to hear their concerns and you really do care about their transformation, their outcomes, and they will be so joyful over the high value and high levels of experience that they have with your product or your service. And I'm telling you, you're going to have longevity at scale. So I hope this video was helpful to you. I try to keep it as simple as possible. If you avoid the first 3 mistakes, right, by observing these 3 tips, you will take your business to high levels of success. Have a good one.